Leanne
Hello.
Faulkner, welcome to Business Insider.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, and we have been waiting a while.
I
We have
know.
been- and I did remark you brought work with you. That's a bit of soap from the soap factory.
I have.
today,
I've
in
come
case
from the
anyone-
soap factory. I'm
That's cool.
sorry.
We are so excited to,
Oh,
as you know,
thank you.
we've been chasing you for a little while.
Yeah, it's lovely for you
Founder
to have me.
of Billy Goat Soap.
Yes, that's
now
right.
owned by
The Heat Group.
the Heat Group.
Yes, a Melbourne-based company.
And working 20 or 40 or 60 hours a week with them.
At the moment, yes.
But I've got to say, you look like a new girl.
Thank you, and I'm feeling so much better.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's talk about that because it's been a journey.
It certainly has.
I did my research. Jenny started it all, didn't she?
Yes, well done.
Jenny the goat.
Yes, Jenny the goat. In fact, from the RSPCA in Summersby.
There you go.
Started the whole journey. I know, who would have thought? Yeah, the RSPCA, we just thought, we had a few acres and we thought, we'll get a goat to mow the lawn. And so the journey began. The RSPCA in Summersby dropped her off at our place at Arimba and had said at the time, look, you're going to have to milk her. Milk a goat? I've owned cats and dogs, but so I did what anyone would do, and I went to the internet and looked up how to milk a goat. And I learned how to milk Jenny, and my family just fell in love with her.
Yeah.
And that began the romance with dairy goats. It's an odd way of putting it, romance, but it's true.
You've got to have the passion there, girl, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it sort of grew out of there. We just picked up more goats, more dairy goats. And,
did you end up eating Jenny or not?
Oh, no.
No, well,
no.
The circle of life.
Yes, no.
Okay.
That's boar goats, by the way, that get eaten, not dairy goats. Dairy goats get treated like part of the family.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, and it just grew from there.
So at what point did you say, hey, we can do this? This is, I know your son had a skin allergy.
Had eczema as a matter of fact. And because there's 5 children in our family, John had 3 children from previous marriage, and then we had 2. And 2 of the older children had eczema, and everything worked for them. All the normal treatments worked, and we thought, great. But when Liam was born, he's the youngest, none of those treatments worked. So it was actually quite humbling for me. And again, because I had a bit of a research background, so I went to the internet, found out what could I do, and read that goat's milk soap is supposedly good for people with eczema, and I thought, I've got goats. I've got milk. I'm going to learn.
I've specialised my milking technique.
Right. So I actually headed off down to Sydney, and I learned how to make soap. And it took me about 2 years to actually try and get a product right for Liam. Made a lot of very, very bad soap. And I gave it to friends and family for Christmas presents and birthday presents.
Do you still hear from them? Or
no, and
they're still getting over some of their rashes that they created?
Exactly. Exactly. Or the bathrooms that I ruined from having soap in the bath. But anyway, finally came up with something that seemed to help Liam.
It's R&D, you can get tax refund.
Yeah, I know. I hadn't actually thought about that at the time. So, and then came up with something that seemed to help Liam. And I used to show my goats at Gosford Show.
Yes.
And Roma, who organises all of the animals and does so much wonderful work out at that show, I'd said to her, Roma, I made this soap. And Roma said, well, why don't you bring it along and sell it? And I thought, okay. And back in those days,
so when was this? What year was that?
Let me think. It was 2003.
Okay.
And I had brown paper bags that I bought at Woolies, and I just had a little tag that I printed off the printer with a name. And I actually had said to my niece one afternoon just before the show, what am I going to call myself? And she said, why don't you call yourself Billy Goat Soap? And I said to her, like everyone says to me, but you can't get milk from a billy goat. And she said to me, that's right, but you use the girl's spelling of Billy, get a bit cheeky with it. So Billie. And I thought that was a great idea. And that...
She's still getting licence fees for that? Or?
She gets nothing. She gets a good Christmas present.
Of soap that actually works and doesn't dissolve the bath.
That's right. And Melinda, thank you.
Yeah.
And I just printed a label off my printer, and my father would stick the labels on a brown paper bag for me. And we gave it out or sold it at the show, and it seemed to go well.
Goods requirements all ticked off.
Yeah, I checked that we were compliant to be able to sell the product. Yeah, but I had my ingredient listing, and I had everything that I needed to be able to sell. We actually don't make any claims in regards to eczema or psoriasis, no, because we've got to follow TGA guidelines, and we've been very conscious of that over the years. So, okay, good. And so anyway, from that, Bev at the time Go Vita Wyoming
Right, okay.
Bev actually said to me, "Oh, I'll sell a basket for you, Leanne." This is after that show. And I was working in fact, as a HR consultant at Gosford Hospital at the time. And so I would literally on my way to work drop a basket into her with my brown paper bags and my basket of soap. And I didn't realise the number of people that would buy the product from Bev that either owned a health food store
I've got to just interrupt, Leanne. This is sounding incredibly unplanned. At what point did you put the strategic plan that built into an award winner of all sorts
When it got to about July of 2004, is when my husband kept saying to me, "I really do think you should be doing this for a living. I really think you should do it." And I'd been such a corporate girl up until that point that it was such a big step for me, a leap of faith to go and be self-employed where I didn't have that guaranteed income. But John was the one who really said, "I think it's time." We had about 22 retailers at that time. Because I'd been...
And you were packing in brown paper bags?
Doing everything, packing, delivering, doing the whole lot. But my background is in human resources and organisational development, so I've actually done a lot of time teaching people how to write strategic plans and how to manage and how to set goals and KPIs and do all of those things. So I actually thought, okay, well, I'll sit down and write my own plan. And we actually, John and I had talked about it, and I had some ideas about what I wanted to do for the product. We had a very good... we decided that point of entry initially would be price-based, to be honest, to try and give us some legs for the first 12 months. So we actually made some decisions around price points, realising that we weren't going to be able to sustain those price points as the business grew, because we're a handmade product. And margins are very tight, very, very tight in manufacturing, and particularly when you're handmade.
What excites me is that you actually recognised it and then executed that price progression, which is not the usual.
But that's exactly what we did, because we wanted to be able to have as many opportunities to open as many doors as we could, and we thought, well, we'll look at what are the things we can talk about with a retailer, and price always excites a retailer, so let's start there and look at that. And then we understood after about 12 months we couldn't sustain that entry market price, and we would increase our prices as a result over time, and that's exactly what we did. So we had a number of price increases as the product has evolved that has allowed us to better...
Did John on his way through keep his day job? Or?
Yeah, John actually had his own business.
Oh, right.
So he's a small business operator and has been for many years. So really it was John that I guess gave me the confidence and the support.
To do this.
And all those times where I would say, "I can't do it," John would go, "Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I know you can." So he had an unwavering belief in what we were doing, and that made a huge difference. I don't know how I would have coped if I'd had a partner who was constantly worried about where the money was going and what were you doing.
You wouldn't have got there.
No,
it
would be impossible.
These issues or opportunities.
Yeah, exactly right. So, and then we got to a point where John actually, because Billy Goat was growing over time, we picked up more retailers. We moved out of the kitchen into the garage, out of the garage into the games room where the kids had their stuff no longer, out of the games room into a factory. And then as the business grew and became more demanding, we made a decision that John would sell his business, and we put the equity out of that into Billy Goat to help us grow Billy Goat. And John actually did all of the kid things, so John stayed home and...
It's going to go the goat kid.
No, two-legged kids.
No, got it. I thought that was a little bit of humour.
Yeah, two-legged kid things. Okay. And so John actually stayed home, and he took the kids to school, and he did the soccer, and he did all of those things so that I could go and work and really grow the business. And I guess I have to acknowledge my family for their support. So not just John, but my boys, my two boys, Kyson and Liam, and also my older stepchildren who've spent hours packing soap for me. So it's been truly a family effort. And
we talk about life balance. And there is no such thing, I don't think. But unless you can get them all to pack soap, then you've got some quality time.
I guess, we've got something if I've got them in the factory, the whip out. There'll be no talking, just pack.
Yes.
But actually what we did really well, I think, John and I, always had a rule that said from Friday afternoon to first thing Monday morning, you can't talk about work. And that's worked extremely well for us. And sometimes we slip into where... Sorry, I talked about a bar of soap. I won't talk about it again.
Yeah.
So sometimes
that's real discipline, and otherwise it just drives you crazy.
You really have to have some sort of boundaries, and I think I've learnt that more over the last 12 months, particularly. You really do have to have some time.
Let's talk about the last 12 months. It's been
it's been hard.
Shall we go back? 2 years, because when did the discussions with Heat start?
Oh, look, what happened was I've always been a great believer in asking people for help along the way, and I've had particular icons, female icons, I guess, where there's been female entrepreneurs in this country that I've truly admired, like Carolyn Cresswell, for example,
Yes.
Carmen's. And Gillian, Gillian Franklin, who founded the Heat Group, is somebody that I've watched her career and I've watched her grow her business over the years. And so what happened was about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, all of my staff had gone home for the evening. I was sitting in my office and I just grabbed one of our letterheads, and I just finished reading an article about her in the BRW and thought, I'm just going to write her a letter and say, this is who I am and this is what I do, and could you give me some business advice? And I sent that letter on. She still has it to this day. She's kept it. But I sent that letter off, and her secretary rang me and said, well, next time you're in Melbourne, Gillian will meet with you. And I just thought that was fantastic. And so...
And you not met her before?
No.
You just read about her?
I just read about her. I just followed what she'd been doing and some of the reports about her career, and thought, well, this is a lady I should probably talk to. Because she is also coming from the cosmetics background, a lot of her business is in the same channels that I'm doing business in.
I just love the naturalness with which you wrote that letter to her, because
yeah, I just thought,
and we don't do that. And let me just give the plug for the Business Insider. The reason you're here now is so if someone sees you or wants to talk to you, they now have a great introduction, and we want to encourage, because we hide and don't engage with smart people enough. Not that you're a smart person, no. But yeah, we want to encourage people.
Yeah, and I think...
So that's cool. I think that's a great thing.
And I think too, fundamentally, when I know people do contact me and ask me about my experiences, or they've got a product and they want to do something, and it's an opportunity to really give back, because I've had that. People have done that for me, and I think I've been...
Who were the big... sorry, we'll keep going with Gillian.
Yeah, okay. So we met, and she looked at the product, and we talked a lot about the channels and my business and her business, and from there grew a relationship with Gillian around getting to know Billy Goat a bit better, and me going to her from time to time saying, well, I'm thinking of doing this, what do you think? And she would give me advice in that area. And she had actually said to me from time to time, I really do think Billy Goat should be part of our family, but we could never come to an agreement on that.
Yes.
And then eventually we did. So we made that decision, and the 1st of February is when she bought. But in fact, what she did was buy the brands. So she bought Billy Goat Soap and Billy Baby. We have 2 brands. And she bought the distribution rights. But she didn't buy the manufacturing rights. So we actually still own, John and I still own the manufacturing rights, and we manufacture for one customer pretty much now, which is the Heat Group.
Right.
But we do that still here on the Central Coast. So we're pretty proud of that we've kept that relationship, and it works really well.
If we talk about business planning, and everyone, a lot of people say, Bob just said, where's your exit strategy? 2000 and where you've ended up, how does that compare to where you thought you'd end up?
We actually did have an exit strategy that we've been working towards around the 2013, 2014, which was a trade sale. So we exactly had that, and knew that I wouldn't be, and we wouldn't be part of Billy Goat forever. It needed to go on. We've realised that exit strategy earlier than planned, still a trade sale, but we did it, I guess, now. We made the decision to do it now because we recognised that the brand needed those additional resources, needed that backing, and needed all of that infrastructure. The Heat Group turns over $130 million a year retail, compared to us. So it certainly needed that expertise and that resources that we couldn't give it anymore. It deserves to go on.
At every level.
Yeah, at every level.
And
absolutely.
Financial.
Absolutely, and it deserves to go on.
But you knew, importantly, it was going to be a trade
Oh,
sale.
I knew it was always going to be a trade sale.
Yeah.
It just happened earlier than planned. That's all. So always knew. Yeah, it wasn't going to be a long-term thing.
Let's talk about the emotional side.
Oh, yes.
Don't make me cry now.
No,
okay?
don't make me cry.
Oh, right,
Where's
okay,
my
fine.
tissues? No, I'll be all right, don't worry.
So what did you go through?
Look, last year was a particularly tough year for the business, and we'd had such meteoric rise and growth in Billy Goat up until this point that I think we were very much caught up in the state of manufacturing and also in the state of retailing. Retailing's doing it really tough at the moment in this country.
That makes me cry when I go in and see what's going on.
And I think it's definitely a multi-speed economy.
Yeah.
I think we're being falsely propped up. Don't get me started.
We
but
might
I
talk
think,
about that in a moment.
Okay, but I think the people on the ground are really feeling it at the moment. And when you're a very small manufacturer and your whole business is dependent on retailing, and particularly for us, we'd done some very big forecasting around department stores because we'd done a lot of work in that area. And all you have to do is look at retailing in general, break it down by sector to see that those big department stores simply aren't getting the traffic in the door that they used to.
And we're talking about someone who won Myers Award
that's
for
right.
Best Supplier.
That's right.
What, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And David Jones actually came to us and said, we'd like to range the product. So we saw a great future, particularly in that channel, and that channel really has suffered over the last
3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And retailing in general is very subdued. You know, savings at its highest level, and people just aren't spending, or they're looking for a real bargain. And so I was deeply affected by that. Our sales weren't to the level that we were forecasting that they were going to be, and because I guess I have...
Do you want to talk about what level below?
Oh, significant drops, actually.
30s, 40%?
Oh, 30% below what we were expecting. So, and that has ramifications on everything, on staffing levels, pricing points for volume buys. So your raw ingredients, if you can't buy in volume, you're not going to be able to get the same price, so that squeezes on margin. At the same time, you've got retailers like Myer who just then began just living in a world of discount, and who were out there proclaiming, well, we're going to be discounting.
How unusual for a Coles product or a Coles chain to just be focused on discounting.
Yeah, so when that happens, there's a push that happens to the supplier, that needs to be able to wear that cost. So margins became non-existent. So that actually took a toll on me personally, and I guess I was thinking, look, I've done everything, I've tried everything, and I'm getting nowhere fast. And mentally that took a real toll on me. So the strain around cash flow, the strain around profit, around employing people, all of those things.
So where do you go when that's kind of piling up on your little shoulders?
Yeah, well, for me, I really didn't go anywhere other than thinking that I could cope up until a point. So I was actually at the stage where I would be driving to work and I'd be crying on my way to work, and I would sit outside my office and think, get yourself together, girl. Put your makeup on, put your lipstick on, and put a smile on your face as you walk into the office and go, hi, everybody. And that's what I was doing. Or I would, we'd be in meetings and we'd be talking about, struggling to achieve targets, and I would have to get up and leave, and I would walk out and just leave the room and drive home. So I look back. I'd be in Melbourne in meetings, and I'd be sitting in my office, in my hotel room, thinking, I'll just get on a plane and go to Perth. I'll just leave. And of course, I would always go back to my family. My family was always the grounding for me and got me through. And I look back on that time now and see how scary that was.
You have this.
I do. I actually had given up reading BRW. I had unsubscribed from every entrepreneur, so-called fabulous person, because it made me feel like a failure. And just before I quit reading BRW, I read a small piece on this program. This is a program called Business in Mind, and it's actually a program that was written out of the University of Tasmania, in conjunction with the work cover team down there in Tasmania. They recognised that there was a hole in the market for small to medium business owners who are suffering anxiety, stress or depression that is probably triggered by business factors. Situational depression is a good way, and that's what I was diagnosed with, situational depression. That was triggered by business factors. And so they wrote this program. So I actually rang them and said, oh, can I participate? It was a pilot at the time, and said, can I participate? They said, sure. And thank you. And what they send you is a resource guide and a DVD. And the great thing about the DVD is they've actually gone out to small and medium business owners in Tasmania who've had anxiety, stress, depression related to their business, and interviewed them and said, what's happened for you? What's been your situation? how are you now and what are you doing to work through it? And I just watched that video and cried because I just went, oh, I'm not alone. I'm actually not alone. And worked through the resource book and that definitely helped. And also saw counselling here on the coast, I have to say, and that helped as well. So, but what it made me realise is we don't really have enough resources out there specifically for small to medium business owners who are going through tough times at the moment. And insolvencies are at the highest rate ever in this country. The largest employer group is the SME group, so you can imagine there's probably
critical here on the coast.
There's a lot of tradies out there who are losing their business at the moment. There's a lot of retailers. There's a lot of shop door closing, and we need, you know, just like Lifeline has a helpline, we need some sort of helpline.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of on a mission to bring more resources.
And you're spending some time working with these guys?
Yeah, I am actually. I have had some good meetings with Angela, who is the doctor who wrote the program. So had some meetings with her about how do we make this program more widely available. Had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with Beyond Blue down in Melbourne, just to say, what funding do you have and what are you doing? And then got a few more meetings coming up here, but I think we need to have some good conversations with particularly insolvency firms and accountants who are probably seeing these SME owners in a time of great stress and could be the conduit to pass on this information.
Absolutely, and they're not well prepared.
No.
They're not natural conduits.
No.
They're natural.
And I need to tell you, do you know where I got that idea? Watching your interview with Amanda Lott from SV Partners.
There you go.
I watched that and went, I need to talk to that lady, and I called her after I watched that, and we had lunch together and talked about it. And from there, Amanda and I are probably going to do a few more things.
You're nearly making me cry, but I'll recover. That's why we're here.
That's exactly
why we're here.
That was exactly from your interview.
That's cool.
That happened.
We could spend a bit more time here, but
yes,
we give everyone, even you, the opportunity to have a rant. You know, to say we have this magic wand, we can change something. There may be. What would you like the Business Insider to change in the business world right now?
Well, I think it relates to what my passion is at the moment here. I think we need to have much more resources out there for the owners of small business who are going through stress, anxiety, depression as a result of doing it tough at the moment in a small to medium business. I also think that we need to have real honest role models, which is why I kind of said, oh look, you know, can I come? Because I thought I'm going to bear all. I actually did an interview with Tony Featherstone of the SMH not that long ago, and it was quite a raw interview, but did it in the hope that people could see. Oh, and the headline he put on it was "Media Darling is bitten by the black dog." But anyway,
nice headline. Yeah.
But in the hope that people can see that the Richard Bransons of the world, the Naomi Simpsons of the world, they're fantastic, but they are probably the exception and not the norm. And the norm is you and me, going through business every day and struggling and having worries about cash flow, profit, employees, recruitment, all of those things, and that's the norm. So I think we need to be wary of the superstars that we idolise in business, and we need to balance that. Just like the young girl who sees the Jennifer Hawkins on the catwalk, she's the exception, she's not the norm.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, here we need to pursue this, the BEC.
Yes, I've got a meeting with Wayne, in fact.
Cool.
Around the BEC.
Because they have, you know, the contact with these people who are doing it tough.
Yes.
And, I like the Jennifer Hawkins analogy. I think let's not model on the exception.
That's right.
We can talk to them as you do, which is fantastic, and we encourage that. So.
Absolutely, and I think it's you know, fine to have them, but we do need to remember, and we don't get that message in the business sector. We really don't. No. You know, and if I fail in business, then I fail as a person, and that's actually wrong. I can fail in business and still be a fantastic person, and that's the norm.
Yeah. Extraordinary session. Thank you.
That's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me and for being so patient.